to think that the opportunity to lead, really for me, was born from a knock at the door. But before we answer that door, I want to take you back to 1996. Going to the chapel and we're gonna get married. I found the man of my dreams. I called my mother the first night and said, I found the man I'm going to marry. Everything got better. I found my Prince Charming, my savior. And what I have to tell you about myself is that I had always looked to outside sources for my self-worth. I gave it the power away to men, to relationships, to things, to drugs, to alcohol, to all those things. But here I found this man that was going to save me. And we married, and he gave me the most incredible life possible. He was a leader. He became the leader in my life. He was one of the integral members who co-created Costco, the Wholesale Warehouse Club. So this man knew how to lead. I was in safe hands. We had 2 beautiful daughters. He adopted my daughter from my starter marriage, and all was fabulous. And then we had a knock on the door in January of 2007. Those defining moments, the knock that changed everything. I answered the door, and I was greeted with a coroner and a clipboard to inform me that my husband had taken his own life. Like now, you could hear a pin drop. The life that I knew was forever changed. About 2 weeks later, I found myself balled up on the bedroom floor, hardwood floor, crying, with a choice to make. Would I stay on the floor, poor victim, poor me, which is where everyone thought that I really should be, that I deserved it, I earned that, this tragic thing, or was I going to make the choice to stand tall, to be so grateful for all that this man had given me, and find a better way for my children and for myself? Because if not, I could easily go back into that very self-destructive behaviors and habits that I did as a young woman. Well, I'm happy to tell you that I made the decision to stand tall. I didn't have a path. I had no idea which way the yellow brick road was going to take me, but I was going to get on it, determined to find a better way. And as luck would have it, a well-meaning girlfriend would call me. And she would call from a conference, from a health conference, and she said, oh my God, Vanessa, I found this thing. It's really cool. I know it's these supplements, these whole food supplements. And you know what, you got to take them. You got to get them for you and your kids. I'm like, okay, I'm in. Well, I signed up for this Whole Foods fruits and vegetables in a capsule, and off I went, and I had suddenly kind of really found my path. I was doing these little wellness events, and it was fun. And I found that health and nutrition was something that I actually was really good at and that I was loved. I had the bug, the health and nutrition bug. I started taking every class that you can imagine. I was collecting them like I collect shoes. I just couldn't get enough. And I can also tell you, at 7, I knew, because of my family, I knew what I didn't want to look like, feel like, or be like. And I would use exercise as the way to stay healthy. My whole credo was, hey, eat whatever you want, but just work out. And that's what I thought was the deal. Meanwhile, I was feeding myself garbage. I was thin on the outside, but not healthy on the inside, but for sure. So I'm off on my path, and I'm studying, a voracious appetite, and someone says, you need to read this book, The China Study. And I said, yeah. No, you need to read this book. And like the third time, you finally get the tap and the nudge, and you get the punch in the gut that says, all right, pick up the damn book. So I read the book. This is the book, China Study. If anyone's familiar with it, this book changed my life. And I can tell you, before I tell you about this book, I believe in second and third chances and fourth chances, especially in love. And along this journey over the years ahead that I had traveled, I found love again. And a new Prince Charming. I believe that there's Mr. right now and there's Mr. later, and you just never know. Okay? I've always been a girl with a full glass. Never even half empty, it's always full. I'll find the good in everything. So, I find this book, and by this time that I find the book, I am newly married. I'm reading this book, and every night as I'm reading this book, I'm nudging my husband. Oh my God, hey, listen, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, all these things. Plant-based diet, plant-based diet. I said, it's not like there's 18 different methods of how to fix something, cure this. I said, frickin' A, I found the healthcare crisis cure. I got the golden ticket. And it's in fruits and frickin' vegetables. This is fabulous. And by the time I finished the end of that book, it was about 1:30 in the morning. I pick up the phone and call New York, because at the end of that book, there was a page that says, for the next level, we have now a new course at Cornell University on plant-based nutrition. I was in. So I called and picked up the phone, and guess what? They don't answer at 2 a.m. in the morning. But the next day, Mary, my counselor, called and enrolled me in what would be the kind of defining moment in my health and wellness career. I had become a raving lunatic for Colin Campbell. He was he's 82 years old, and I was like a groupie and a rock star. I couldn't get enough. I told my husband that night, I said, honey, tomorrow we're going plant-based, no oil. And you know what he said? Okay, I'm in. Yes, I know how lucky I am. I have the most compliant husband on the planet. I have a way of persuading people when I'm really committed and on fire about something, and he saw it. He understood this. So I said, I don't know exactly how we're going to do it, but we are. So the very next day, cleaned out the pantry, cleaned out everything, and again started taking more and more classes and really understood how to adopt a healthy, whole, plant-based lifestyle. The moment I went plant-based, everything got better. Everything. My relationships, my passion, my desire, my clarity, my skin, my hair, everything got better. And I said to my husband, holy crap, I'm on fire and everybody needs to have what I have. Everyone. I'm like, well, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? I'll teach. Now, it's a funny thing about teaching, because I remember at 15, you take those aptitude tests. They tell you in your high school like what you're going to be good at. And I always wanted to be an actress and a singer, and I wanted to save the world, and I wanted to be a doctor and a psychologist. Well, the test came back, and those things were lingering there. But the number one thing says you should be a teacher. Well, me and my fancy pants thought those who can do, and those who can't teach. Well, that would come to bite me in the butt in a big way, because I was so passionate and on purpose for this new way of eating and living that I had to share it. So I was a teacher, and I was becoming a damn good one. When I say that everything got better, let me just tell you that my relationship with my daughters became so incredible because I engaged them and brought them into the kitchen. We started cooking together. They were so hungry for me. Yes, they needed to eat healthy, but it wasn't so much that, it was the interaction that we had together. I was becoming the mom I never thought I could be. I was becoming a leader in my own life and for my daughters. So here's this teaching thing. How am I going to build community? How am I going to share this stuff that I need to teach? Well, I'll do a Wellness 101 6-week course where I'll get people together and I'll teach them every week how to make changes to go plant-based, how to change to work with their families, because I'd already figured it out at this point. So I get everyone together and the classes are filling up. I mean, people were super excited. But at the end, they would be like, okay, I get it, I understand why, and I understand how, or I understand why, and I get it, but how? So the next thing was, okay, if you're asking for how, I'll do cooking classes. So I became a chef, and I started teaching cooking classes. And I would have every month, I would have a lunch and learn, where everyone would come together and we cooked 4 beautiful courses together, and I love beauty. So we would have the table set. I mean, this was like top notch. Women and men were always in their aprons because, you got to feel fabulous in the kitchen. And I started teaching, and I knew, and I felt the community. I felt the energy of this. I knew that community is what my students needed, and I didn't realize how much I needed community. As a leader, you need to have people that can follow, but I needed this sense of community for something much bigger than that. I needed community for in here. And I was seeing that was the big shift, that all these people were interested in health and wellness, and they wanted to make changes and live a more vibrant life and not have to deal with cancer and diabetes and heart disease. But what they were really hungry for was community. Now, the next thing that happened for me, so I started coaching one-on-one, and I started doing groups, I started speaking, I started writing a book. I'm like, me write a book? Well, of course, I've got to share this stuff. I've got to get in a bigger platform. Everyone needs to know this. And I knew from the beginning that with this book, who was going to write, who could be the only man who could write the foreword, but my buddy here, Dr. Colin T. Campbell, who became a mentor. Let me just tell you, when I went back to school, I studied with the best of the best in the industry, because I do believe as a leader and as a student that you pick the very best. You want your mentor, don't look for people that know more than you. And then you learn from them, and then you find the next and the next. Always go to the cream of the crop. Don't ever second guess. You're worth it, and you want to learn from the best. So do that. So I did. And I'm writing my book, and I had this aha one day. It's about 3 years ago. This big aha. And I said, oh my gosh. I realized for the first time in my life, I've actually tasted my own self-worth. And it came at the end of my fork. When I cared enough about what I put into my body, everything changed. Everything had shifted. I could no longer live an incongruent life. I could never go back to my old party days of, getting drunk and, I didn't know, and all the stupid things that you do. Because when you're feeding your body with love and with honesty, it keeps you on track in every other area of your life when you start with that simple thing about what's at the end of your fork. You have that opportunity 3 times a day, every time you make a choice to eat something, how you're going to feed yourself. And it's something, you can say as a leader, whether you're a leader in your own home or out in the world and you're building your empire, is that it's about authenticity. And so if you're, saying one thing and smoking and drinking in the back, that's not going to cut it. And eventually, people will see that. You'll see it. You're fooling yourselves. And then, it gets better. As I'm working on my book, I wake up one morning, and I had this feeling, this nudge. You know that nudge you get, sometimes like something's not right? Get this nudge, and it says, okay. In my mind, I'm saying, Vanessa, you have built this beautiful life. You're living an honest life, an authentic life. You're making a difference. You become a leader to so many in your world and to yourself. But you're a fraud. If they really knew, if the community, your friends and family, if they really knew who you were and some of the choices you made in your life, some of the mistakes, boy, would they see something different. What kind of leader would you be then? It scared the crap out of me. Because for 44 years, at this time 42 years, I had spent my entire life trying to squash this down, to not let anyone know about my shortcomings and my bad choices in life and my guilt, my shames, all of that. And suddenly my mind was telling me, hey, it's time to face the music. You got to share this stuff. I said, okay, I'm going to start sharing some of my unsavory parts, as I like to call them. And something happened. It was like a bird cage had opened, and I flew out like, ah, hallelujah. I didn't know, again, how it was going to happen. Again, I was on fire. It's like that song, Alicia Keys, she's just a girl and she's on fire. That was me. I was a free bird. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was going to start sharing. So, of course, I did. The next cooking class we had, I started sharing things that weren't so wonderful about my life. past abusive relationships, drugs, alcohol, all those things that we've all got stories, because we all have one, or two, or 10. And guess what happened? They love me even more. That light bulb went off as a leader. It's not about perfection. It's about being authentic. It's about letting people see the good parts and the bad parts. Not that I thought it just would look better, that, hey, here I am and everything's perfect. That's not the case, because that's not how life is. And that really opened up a huge opportunity for me for personal growth, for my business, and for others. Again, I became the safe space for people to land, and they, in return, became a safe space for me. So it's like leaders, have followers, leaders, who are all doing something that was amazing. And that has always been my path. That has always been my mission, to have people, my clients, I've always said at the end of a class, your job is to pay it forward. That's how you can thank me. I want you to share what you've learned and pay that forward to someone else. That, to me, is what a leader is about.